As I said, before we go any further, I really want to nail the aesthetic of this world. And the best way to do that is by addressing some of the existing creatures that we have encountered and locations. I decided that I also want to do lore building for the locations. Lore building for the manifestations, lore building for the locations. I'm going to do a separate video for the locations, but as it stands, we need to circle back and do some lore building for some of the recent manifestations that we've encountered. With the aesthetic and the vibe that I want the master plane to be very alien and kind of scary, dark fantasy, very scary, almost like a horror. When it comes to manifestations being any creature or non-rogue, no matter what variance of intelligence it has, if it's not a human rogue, then it's going to be considered a manifestation. And these manifestations are going to be randomly rolled on the creature crafter table, and so far that's how they've all come to pass. But I want to leave it up to the audience to actually build out the lore for these creatures. And the way we're going to do that is by announcing each one, discussing what we know about them so far, and then in the comment section, you, the audience, will submit ideas and concepts and lore. It could be one detail about it, about this creature. And we're going to take everybody's submissions and, like a mixing pot, combine it together and contribute to the lore subject. And we're going to do the same at locations as well. And outside of that, whenever we encounter this creature or location, we add to it based off of new information we get from the encounter. But this is going to be the foundation, the building blocks. And it's going to start with some of these creatures. First creature, there was this insectoid manifestation that was encountered in the 7-path tunnels. It ambushed Nazareth. Just like this creature and all the rest of them, submit your lore on what this entity does. Also, even submit the name, a name or a nickname. We'll select a few. I like the idea of these manifestations having various nicknames because everybody's going to call it something, right? And the ones with the most likes are in running for what nicknames this thing will have. But submit some ideas. Currently, we know that it attacked by spitting acidic goo capable of melting stone. And Nazareth crushed it against the tunnel ceiling, but we knew that it had a carapace. It had some sort of carapace. It was guarding some sort of mechanism that was causing a disturbance in the tunnel. So whatever the 7-path tunnels is, someone built noise to trigger this thing. So maybe it has a sense to sound. Possibly, but that's all we know of it so far. And it was fairly large. Nazareth is pretty large himself. It was bigger than Nazareth. So that's pretty big. Maybe bigger than the Taken Wanters, which were another insectoid creature. Maybe there's some sort of, this region that we're in holds a lot of these carapace insectoid type creatures, I've noticed. So that's that. We'll call that the insectoid manifestation for now. And then we had these thin humanoid parasitic manifestations. These were creatures that we saw clinging on to Nazareth in the 7-path tunnels in a room that he couldn't see until they were illuminated by the fire, the brazier in the tunnel system. And they were draining Nazareth's strength, and he was able to easily tear them off. They seemed intelligent enough to wield weapons. They had like little daggers. They looked like little, fiendish zombies, I would say. But what are these things? Who are they? Were they rogues at one point? I don't know. Looking forward to everybody's ideas. Again, the goal the target is to also kind of make it creepy and scary. Creepy and scary. Remember that. Dark. I guess we can consider this a different manifestation, but maybe it'll be an offspring or related to these humanoid parasitic manifestations are. Remember, when he circled back, apparently they all combined into a mass of these things. They became a large mass, large numbers of these things that kind of combined together, and the fire had died. But when he circled back, this thing was there. So maybe it has something to do with there being complete darkness. And this is how maybe they're invisible when they're in smaller numbers, but when they get together, you can see it. Because it was like a wall. I envisioned it to be like a wall of these entities that wanted to sap and absorb. But they were easily defeated as well, even as a group. But still something to be, scared of if you're in those narrow corridors. Why are these things down there? Were they put there? I don't know. And then we have these green manifestations, which were these creatures that were ridden by those hostile wild tribesmen inhabiting the verdant canopies. Alai and her warband encountered them, fought them alongside the tribe, and they were described as having these gaping mouths filled with sharp fangs and being adept at scaling the canopies. It gave their enemy massive maneuverability whilst on the backs of these manifestations. Again, names and what are these things capable of? How did they get domesticated? Are they domesticated? What's the connection to those wild tribesmen? Speaking of wild tribesmen, these we're considering them manifestations. They weren't human. They seemed wild. They were hostile. They were very sure of themselves. They wielded weapons. It was a lot of them. They apparently are good at building things because we saw what the canopies looked like, the homes that they built within the canopy. So let's get some lore on these things. They're intelligent, but they aren't human. That's for sure. Are there more of them? I don't know. Sure, certainly that's not all of them. I think as long as Alai stays there, that might be something that she might have to deal with. I don't think they're gone. So we'll have more opportunities if you're in the verdant canopies to encounter these guys and gals. Then we have a package here. We have the reptilian humanoid spirit manifestations, which were kind of like the minions of the serpentine jinn. And then you have the serpentine jinn. So the serpentine jinn was this powerful spirit that resided in the same ancient tomb as those reptilian spirits, and they're likely offspring of that thing. They lured Willem and Zanera into the tomb and had the intention of possessing a physical form. It overpowered them with sleep magic and took control of Willem's body, also infusing Willem's soul vessels with some of its spectral horde. So it kind of brought on board all of the minions. And those minions were similar in a sense of they were also spirits that resided in the ancient tomb. They attacked Willem and Zanera on sight after he kind of called them. And he had inadvertently summoned the reptilian humanoid spirit, which triggered an ambush by a legion of these things. They seemed to be a legion. And while powerful, they were ultimately defeated. They weren't defeated. They were putting up a fight, but they were more so overwhelming Willem and Zanera, only for the serpentine jinn to reveal itself. So what are these? They're jinn because I wanted to incorporate what I rolled allowed us to incorporate jinn, or what Master Plane will consider jinn. The serpentine jinn could be a great way to start explaining why there are jinn, if maybe this is the only one for now. But we get to kind of interpret what we want jinn to be in this world. So this particular one has serpentine traits and qualities. So why is that? You know what I mean? So, hey, I'm looking forward to seeing what everyone has. Again, just drop as many as you want. Drop as many details and lore as you want. Preferably, you know, kind of keep it short. It's up to you. It's up to you if you want to go long. But I just would hate for you to write so much and then it not end up being something that we keep, because it, you know, hopefully everybody kind of stays in line with the ask here, which is something dark. This is dark fantasy. We want to stay as original as possible. And we don't want to reference anything outside of the fiction of this universe that we're all building. So keep that in mind. And as will be the same for when we do locations. All right, looking forward to seeing what y'all got. We're not going to continue to turn 4 until we have some more lore for what we're getting ready to step into. So I don't know. Depends on what we get.